Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we're back here. It's hard to believe that we're now creeping up to the end of January. It's January 30th of 2014. We're already closing out our first month of the year, and just fresh back from the PGA Merchandising Show, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later on in the program. But my guest this evening, I'm very excited to have him on, and his name is John Knox. He's the Golf Brand Manager of SYNLawn. He's going to be joining me here in just a moment. But just let me tell you a little bit about SYNLawn in a moment here. But before I do, I just want to remind everybody that's tuning in from all over and around the world that we're live every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and the show runs right through till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sometimes I cut a little bit short depending on who my guests are and what I've got going for that evening, but generally it's a 2-hour program. And for those of you that might be interested in calling into the program during the live performance, again, that's every Thursday night. You can do so by calling in at area code 646-716-4667. That number again is 646-716-4667. Certainly always happy to take calls on the program. Or if you're a little shy and don't want to come on live, you can certainly email me any questions or topics for future programs. You can email me directly at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. For those of you on Facebook, certainly stop by and like us at Golf Talk Live blog and throw a few likes our way. Or you can visit us on the website at golftalkliveblog.com. You can also pick up the program there. There's a link on there that you can click on while you're surfing around and looking at some of the products and some of the books of authors that have been on the program in the past year. And for those of you that have been recently following me on Twitter, thank you very much. Always get a kick out of listening and reading some of the tweets. And you can follow me at Ted and Buck CEO. That's Ted and Buck CEO. That's capital CEO on Twitter. Always appreciate those of you that are following me there. And don't forget, as I said, every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're right here on blogtalkradio.com. You just type in Golf Talk Live up in the search button, or you can just do the full length at blogtalkradio.com/golftalklive, and that'll bring you right here so you can tune in live every Thursday night. As I said, I wanted to have this gentleman on for a little while, and his name is John Knox. Again, he's the Golf Brand Manager of SYNLawn. And SYNLawn is both a company and a brand name representing quality craftsmanship in the emerging artificial landscape grass industry. SYNLawn is a worldwide company with international headquarters based actually in Dalton, Georgia, not too far from where I am here in Panama City Beach, Florida, and which is their parent company, has produced synthetic turf products since 1965, so they've been around almost as long as I have. And SYNLawn is recognized as the first name in synthetic lawn grass for residential and commercial landscaping applications. SYNLawn is synthetic lawn. But tonight we're going to talk about their golf division, if you will, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, let me just bring on my guest tonight. Welcome to Golf Talk Live, John.
Hey, Ted. Good evening. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Not a problem. I appreciate that, and always glad to have some new and interesting guests on. And I know that, as I just mentioned here in the intro, that SYNLawn has been around for quite a number of years, almost as long as I have. And so I was certainly eager, and I did get a chance to catch a little bit down at the PGA Merchandising Show, and didn't get to spend a lot of time there, but was able to see some of the stuff, and definitely a fantastic product. And for those of you that are listening in here, if you haven't got a chance, I don't want you to do it now, but after the show, if you visit the Golf Talk Live Facebook page, there's a video that I put up, and we'll talk a little bit about that throughout the program, of Dave Pelz, who has a phenomenal, in fact, a golfer's dream of a backyard in his home in Texas. And you definitely want to go and check out that video. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Definitely a golfer's dream. But John, let me just get the listeners here just a little bit more information. What is SYNLawn, and tell us just a little bit about the company.
Sure. So you mentioned SYNLawn has been around since the mid-'60s. That's not true. SYNLawn is a brand that's developed only 10 years ago to take a look at the landscape installations, our recreation installations, for example, pet areas and playgrounds. You mentioned our golf division, which we'll talk about here shortly, is one of the divisions of SYNLawn. But the company, our parent company, is a sister company that I think one of your listeners will recognize, is AstroTurf. So SYNLawn is AstroTurf, and they are brother sister company, if you will. So from the middle 60s, we've been extruding yarns and researching and designing these yarns and tufting product, and so we're one of the oldest manufacturers in the business. And as you suggested, we brought SYNLawn as the landscape and recreation side of that field business, which started the whole artificial grass business back in the mid-60s.
Wow. And it's phenomenal. I mean, you know, it's very, very lifelike compared to, I mean, it's actually better than the real grass that you see on a lot of the golf courses. And that's what, especially now with the more modern technology that's out there. And just, you know, I mean, obviously, I know you can't get into every specific, but what are some of the different products that you have at SYNLawn?
Sure. So SYNLawn covers, like I suggested, a couple different areas. We have landscape grasses that mimic different varieties of grasses all over the country. And we use these for literally people's lawns. Is a big component of our business. We have turfs for pet run areas or kennels that are a little more durable. Again, realistic looking, durable for the dogs to run around on. We have another version of turfs and systems for playground installation. So we can come into that commercial playground or that person's backyard and put turf and underpad underneath the turf to create safe zones, fall zones for playground installations, and that's a really big growing part of our business. Another division of our business deals with roof decks. So we have technology that we can go into, let's say New York or Chicago or anywhere with a patio, that we can develop a grass area that can be used for, you know, leisure recreation. We've done small sports fields on roof decks. We've done people's kind of a patio area with natural grasses so the pets can use the roof deck area. So that's another division. And then, of course, we'll talk about our golf offerings, which are very highly rated and very well received in our industry. So SYNLawn covers a lot. It doesn't cover the sports field. That we leave that to the AstroTurf guys, but we handle every other type of synthetic grass on the market today. We have over 23 different views or products that we use to service, you know, landscape, pets, playgrounds, roof decks, and golf.
Wow. And obviously, as we're going to talk about, golf is a big part of, has become a big part of SYNLawn. What are some things that SYNLawn has to offer the clients? What are some of the different areas that you can do in the golf business?
Sure. So we've done, we have we'll talk about our retail products first. So what SYNLawn as a brand wants to do is we want to make golf accessible for our customers, meaning accessible at their office, accessible at their home, accessible at their, golf shop, store, or auto dealer. What we want SYNLawn wants to do is give people the ability to go out and play golf without having to go to the golf course or go to the driving range. And following that, we have product lines that start as little as $139 for a putting green and go up to, the good example that you listed earlier was Pelz Backyard, which is, we figure, a couple $1 million installation of synthetic turf, which includes tee boxes, fairways, rough grasses, and the putting green areas that impact and these are all artificial, that impact like they do on a natural grass golf course. So our retail products we sell through our website and through various retailers. Again, $139 up to about $4,000 for these people, for our customers to be able to purchase a golf product. It's high quality and that they can use and practice in their own homes or offices.
Right, and I'm just actually here on the SYNLawnGolf.com website as we speak, just looking at some of the different things, and just to let the listeners know, some of the things that you'd already mentioned. Like, for instance, you have a commercial tee line, which essentially, if you go to most driving ranges, they'll have either a hard mat or they may have a grass area in that, but you actually offer the SYNLawn turf, if you will, to be able to utilize that for tee box instead, which is obviously, I'm assuming, has some sort of padding underneath to give a little bit more durability. I see you also offer portable mats and greens, which obviously could be used in an office environment or a small enclosure of some sort. And then, of course, you have your custom putting greens for your larger outdoors, such as Dave has in his. But you also, I see here, you have a do-it-yourself greens. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's the Green Maker system. Pelz helped us devise this system. It's a putting green with a base component. The base component goes together it would be like a puzzle. It's made of a dense foam, expanded polypropylene foam. It's cut and shaped it's called our various shapes and sizes. But the customer, it arrives at the customer's house. It comes in a box. They simply assemble this base component, roll the turf out. The turf already has the fringe attached and the holes pre-cut. And in 25 minutes, our customers have a really high-quality green with fringe around it, with regulation cups. These greens roll with a speed of a little over 10 on the speed meter, so it's really accurate speeds and true rolls, and they can chip off the fringes. This allows these customers of ours to build their own green either on a patio, in a backyard, maybe in a basement setting, in an office-type setting. We offer sizes that are smaller up to about mid-size. And, it's just a good way for our customers to have really high-quality practice area in their own home for, under $3,000, let's say.
Right. Now, let me ask you, just to sort of back up for a second here. Now, obviously, your more custom putting greens that you're having outside, I think I already know the answer to this, but for some of your indoor or on a patio type format, how do you make it so that, obviously the putting is a little bit different aspect of it, but let's say somebody wants to chip from elsewhere and wants to chip onto that. How do you make it so that the ball would react fairly consistent with what a natural green would be? Like, in other words, if you're on a patio, you've got a hard surface underneath. Is there a foaming that goes under? And how do you determine what sort of gives them the best reaction to that golf ball so it's realistic if they want to practice? Sure.
So in that setting, a patio, for example, we have that green maker that we just talked about, a modular kit with that foam base component. The foam base component has some flexibility and give to it. So as it goes together as a puzzle, before the turf's rolled out, one can put things underneath the base component to give undulations, so you can actually add contour to these greens, change the contour by moving the undulation pieces around. But when the turf goes on, because of the turf and the foam base component, it actually accepts shots, not from far away, from up to about 20 yards. You can chip to these things, and it'll behave realistically. Now, when you talk about like a backyard setting, we have systems and turf components that, in combination, can accept shots from as far as 150 yards away. So some of the things to talk about going forward, and another conversation in a couple minutes here, is some of our newer technology. But our outdoor installed product line, we have putting surface, chipping surface, and then we call it a pitching surface. So if you're going to hit 60-yard shots, for example, we have addressed each of these needs from a manufacturing perspective, and we can deliver realistic performance in backyards to what our customers are looking to get out of their putting green.
Wow. Now, what sets SYNLawn apart from some of its competitors? What's sort of different? Because there's a lot of other companies out there that have either gotten into or have been into this industry. What are some of the advantages that you have, differences that you would like to highlight?
Sure. And that's pretty easy, because there are two major differences. So we, having been in the field side of the business since the mid-'60s, so over 40 years, we've been our turf warranties, our R&D, our research and design is extensive. So when we give 15-year warranties, which is what we offer, our competitors can't touch those warranties. It's because we know the quality of our yarns that we produce and the quality of the materials we produce, and we're really comfortable advertising and offering extended warranties up to 15 years. Another big difference between SYNLawn and our competitors is we're totally vertically integrated. So we not only manufacture our own yarns, we tuft our own products, we put the various backings on ourselves, all in our own plants, And then we have a sales and marketing division that sells and installs turf throughout, North America and literally the world, but mainly concentrated in North America. So we're vertically integrated is a major. Our competitors, for example, buy turf and have their recipe tufted on machines that we don't own.
Right.
And it could, a good run could come out, a bad run come out. We keep close watch on every process of our manufacturing, so our quality of our products is excellent, and the fact that we've been around for so long and offer substantial warranties really does set SYNLawn apart. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago to the listeners here, they really need to go online and check out the video that was sent to me of it's just, as I said, it's a golfer's paradise, but it just really gives you an appreciation. The video quality is very, very good, so you can get a good idea and sense. And of course, Dave is very good about talking about some of the things that he's going to be doing with his new backyard in Texas. But let me ask you, as an example, now obviously the indoor components isn't really an issue, but how does it hold up against weather? Like obviously you've got different climates, like here in the south, in the summer you've got, and I'm sure in Texas you've got extreme heat, and then obviously in a situation where you might be in a more northern climate, how does it hold up, and what do you try to look for when you're setting a customer up? What do you sort of advise them on how to take care of it, or what they should be looking for before they install it?
Sure. So the rain, let's say the rain, snow, ice, none of those things hurt the turf component. What damages it over its long lifetime, is the UV from the sun. So even in highly solar active markets like Phoenix or let's say Vegas or Southern California, we still offer those 15-year UV degradation warranties. And we can do that because, again, back to our experience, we understand how to put UV packages into the yarn that will help resist that UV degradation. So we get that question all the time. Do I have to cover it in the winter, for example, if I'm in Boston? And the answer is no. The snow and ice and weather will not hurt it. It's the sun that eventually breaks down the fibers. But our products will be green in 50 years. They're just not going to look as bright and shiny green as they do on day one. And that 15-year is not the 15-year warranty is not. It doesn't go green for 15 years and then all of a sudden they turn white. This is a sliding scale that gradually loses color over 20 and 30 years. But so I guess my best answer is you don't have to worry about the weather. So our advice for maintenance is pretty simple. Just keep it clean. Mm-hmm. You want to keep the debris off. You want to keep for example, the dog. The dog parts. You want to keep that cleaned up. You want to keep the leaves blown off. Because it's a longer grass, it's let me take a step back. So our fibers are a couple inches in length, 2 inches, 2 1/4 maybe in our landscape grasses, so that it has dimension and looks like it's grass when it's laying in situ. But we want to keep leaves and stuff from accumulating down into this grass fiber, and that is one of the main things that we talk about when we talk about maintenance. Keep it free from debris, and you'll be fine.
Now, how do you, obviously you have different types of materials that you use to simulate, like for instance, you have Bermuda grass and different types of grass in the real golf business. How do you sort of simulate so that if somebody was buying it, let's say, as down here in Florida, as opposed to out in California, where they may be playing traditionally on a different type of natural grass, what do you do to try and best simulate those conditions to help the customer get the real experience?
Sure. So, again, back to our extrusion capabilities, we can extrude yarns in different widths, fine up to like a medium, right? So the width of the yarn coupled with how we tuft it in the lengths and how we get the yarns to curl under steam to mimic bent grasses or Bermuda grasses. We have different versions of our landscape grasses that look like different types of grasses from all over the country. But, yeah, one of the things that SYNLawn really strives and really focuses on is realism. We like our grasses to look real, not only on the landscape side, but definitely on the golf side. Golfers are a fickle bunch. They want that ball to roll like it should on a natural grass green.
Yeah.
They want it to look like it should. That's why, we take such pains to make our fringes, our fairway materials, our rough all look synergistic so that when you step back, it looks like you're looking at a natural grass golf course when you're really looking at a backyard filled with artificial grass, but we like to call synthetic grass.
I don't want to get too much ahead of myself here because I know that we're going to talk about Dave Pelz and his short game and why he's involved with SYNLawn here. But let me just ask you this question. Obviously, we know from some of the products that we touched on here that you do offer a tee line. Excluding Dave for a second here, do you foresee or is there a market opening up for, and I'm not talking some of your larger ranges, but some of your traditional range centers or golf centers that maybe are on a smaller scale, going to more of this type of product in the long run down the road? Do you see them changing over from a traditional sort of a grass-based going to something synthetic like this because it is durable and it lasts a long time? And it's very low maintenance, as you've indicated. Do you see more of these smaller golf centers maybe going to that type of format?
Yeah, and here's why. Here's why it makes sense. Here's why we're selling this product to those golf centers. We can provide an area 12 feet wide or 6 feet wide. We offer two different widths by, let's say, 100 consecutive feet. So, as you suggested, they are not mats. They are not 5x5 mats, but one continuous tee line, we call it, in which we can go at the back of this range and install our tee line and give the users of the range, or give the owners of the range, really, an area that they can use to let their natural grass grow in. We never will anticipate or never see that the whole range will be this tee line because golfers want to hit off natural grass. I do. I'm in the synthetic turf business, and I would rather hit off natural grass. So what we do is put a pretty realistic, durable tee line at the back of the range, so that when their natural grass gets all beat up, we can rotate onto the synthetic tee, use it, let their natural grass come back. Golf clubs like this, because they can, let's say for an outing that they don't want, they want the outing people to warm up on. They use the synthetic tee there. Maybe they have the junior program use the synthetic tee so they won't beat up the natural grass tees. So it really does have a place as a kind of a maintenance layer to give the natural grasses a time to grow in. We've done some pretty substantial tee lines. The Trump courses have our tee line. TPC Sawgrass is an example. East Lake, where they play the Tour Championship, has a piece of our tee line there. So there's some pretty substantial clubs with our tee line material that they use this, just as I suggested, for maintenance, for use of, for example, the Sawgrass people, to let their grass grow in before the TPC event. They use only our tee, only synthetic tee before the event to let the natural grass on their tee line grow in, so it's perfect. So this is again one of the up and coming uses of synthetic grass is this durable tee. It can hold a tee, so you can put a tee in, tee up your ball, and hit off of it. You can hit wedges and iron shots, and it has some give to it, so it's not like hitting off the old school mats. It's much, much more improved product. Right.
Now, let me ask you, just on this thought with some of the golf centers, let me just ask you real quickly here, and then we'll take a short little pause as I read out some information, and then we'll get back into it. Now, obviously, as you said, that the tee line is an area that you can do in that, and you're certainly not going to map out the whole driving range, but would it not be beneficial to a range center to, let's say, some of the better ones that have targets out there to maybe replace, for instance, I can think of a few that I've practiced at where they've got some great greens, if you will, very realistic greens out there. I can imagine it's a lot of work to keep those up looking authentic, if you will. Would it not be cost effective then to have natural grass throughout the range, except for those landing areas, maybe replace it with a synthetic so it's less maintenance? Does that make sense, or is that something, again, that's maybe not not beneficial.
No. In fact, it makes total sense, and we've done this. We have replaced, we call them target tees or target greens. So we've replaced on driving range and golf centers target greens so that the balls can hit and beat on these. Our turfs are exceptionally durable. So it makes total sense. We've even done all landing areas in our synthetic turf. So I'm sure some of your listeners have looked out on a particular range and see synthetic grass everywhere, including the landing area, including the target greens, including the tees. So we've done all. We've done all that. In fact, I'm bidding on one this spring on a big one in Michigan, a big well-known range in which we're talking about re-turfing the whole thing and improving their target greens with synthetic turf. Makes total sense to me. As well as, I'm going to skip forward a little bit. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it makes great sense for executive, like par 3 courses, excuse me. Par 3 courses that have tee boxes and greens and need a low maintenance or low cost, we can come in and do these par 3 courses and show these owners an ROI that's only a couple of years old after they switch out, because you stop immediately paying for water and for chemicals and fertilizers and things like this, and all the maintenance goes away, the mowing of the greens. So we can come into not only a driving center but a par 3 course and convert it to synthetic and give the owner an ROI.
Well, my thinking is this, especially, the golf industry is making a lot of changes, and with so many courses out there struggling, I can see really them scaling back on maintenance considerably by switching over. I mean, obviously, you're not going to map the whole golf course, but the range and if they have a par 3 facility like you're suggesting, that may be something they may want to consider making that investment. And the reason why I say that is particularly in some of your extreme climates, whether it be up north or here in the south or even out west where you've got either a lot of heat or cold conditions. And I know here, I'm going to take Florida as an example, and some of the other southern states. They're constantly, of course, they're battling weeds and things like that, and different types of insects and so forth. And it's hard enough to sort of maintain the general golf course, but then to do it with the range as well, which is really not their bread and butter, it would make sense for them to change that over. They could eliminate a lot of the chemicals, eliminate a lot of the aggravation of trying to keep it looking pristine by going to a system and a setup like you're offering. Would it not make sense to do that?
That makes total sense, and we see more and more calls from these types of customers that are looking to, as you suggested, save some maintenance, save some water, save some fertilizers. Give their customers, their paying customers, something that looks realistic, that plays realistic, that they don't, the course owner doesn't have to spend a lot of money on maintaining. We're getting a lot of calls. That's one of the future, part of the future of the SYNLawn golf brand is a commercial division which does these types of installations, the golf courses and golf centers. So we're cognizant of it, and we're seeing more and more activity because of it.
Yeah, I can really see that being a great application for it, because I know obviously I'm originally from up north, so I know what the cold climate's like, and I've seen, I can remember over the years a lot of the ranges and golf centers that I would visit, it would take them, especially when they come out of their winter months and they get back into the season, there was always a lot of damage, of course, from the harsh winters, and it took them several months sometimes to kind of get it back into good shape, and by the time they would, we'd be leading into the fall, and it was going back and, that sort of back into that area again. So I could see this really being a big benefit, having your product out there, maybe something as simple as a leaf blower out there and blowing some of that stuff off, but I could see it really holding up in the winters. And the same thing down here in the south. I mean, you get droughts or out west where you get a high drought, and that's the other thing is obviously with this type of product that virtually eliminates having to water that particular area.
No doubt, big savings, and we have return on investments, white paper studies on the amount of savings that a golf course or golf driving range can save on converting their grass areas to artificial grass. So we've done those studies, and we have those documents.
Wow. John, just sit tight for just a second here. I just have a couple things I want to read out to my listeners here, and then we'll get right back on with some more questions for you. Remember last week, for those of you that are tuning in live, that I talked about those of you that wanted to head over to Scotland later this year for the Ryder Cup. If you're looking for a place to stay, look no further. I've got just a place for you. Contact the sportseventsaccommodation.com people. And if you're looking to rent a property during the Ryder Cup in 2014 in Perthshire, Scotland, then you found the perfect place. Sports Events Accommodation have a stunning range of properties, varying in size and shape, and they will definitely have something to suit you. The team have many years of experience in the sport and renting accommodation network, and it's their aim to provide you all the rental requirements for the biggest team golf event in the world at an affordable price. So if you're looking to venture over to Scotland this year, a little bit later on, to check out some of the Ryder Cup, for those of you more adventurous people, you can check out their website at sportseventsaccommodation.com, or you can send them an email to Audrey Coates at info@sportseventsaccommodation.com. So make sure you check them out. My good friends over there in Scotland want to certainly entice you to come over and watch a great golf event. So make sure you check them out at sportseventsaccommodation.com. Also, for those of you just tuning in a little bit later in the program, my special guest this evening is John Knox. He's the golf brand manager of SYNLawn, and we're just talking a little bit about the synthetic lawn business, if you will, and how it pertains to golf and how they're utilizing it at SYNLawn to make some great products for the golf industry. For those of you just tuning in, as I said, live, you can certainly call into the program at any time. It's at area code 646-716-4667, or you can email me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at Golf Talk Live blog, and also follow me on Twitter at TedandBuckCEO. And surf around while you're on the internet and check out our website at golftalkliveblog.com. There's some great books on there if you're looking to buy somebody a gift. There's some great books of previous guests that have been on here, and also a few products on there as well under the product section. And you can check out some of the guests and some of the people that support Golf Talk Live. But if you're just tuning in, make sure that you make a note of March 6th, and I'll talk a little bit later about that. The new segment that's going to be coming up on March 6th called Coach's Corner. I've talked a little bit about that, and I'll talk a little bit about that later in the program after my guest John has left for the evening, and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up in the next couple of months. John, let's move on to obviously something that I'm very excited to talk about. Dave Pelz, of course, as everybody knows, is a familiar name in golf. He's probably one of the premier short game gurus in the game. Tell us a little bit about Dave's participation with SYNLawn and how that came about.
Sure. So Dave was looking when he built his house there in Austin. It's west of Austin. He was wanting to. He had this vision to build his favorite 9 holes in scale model size of his favorite holes from the PGA Tour golf courses. Some of the common ones that probably you and I would, Ted, the 12th at Augusta. He picked the 17th at TPC. He picked, I think, the 13th at Augusta. He's got a Pebble Beach hole out there. I believe the 10th at Pebble Beach. Anyhow, so he had the design, and he needed to find a turf company that could provide turf for this wild, beautiful design that he came up with. And he did some research. You know, Dave, he's a rocket scientist. Literally, he does research on top of research, and this is what he loves to do.
Yeah.
So he poked around our industry and couldn't find anything that he was happy with, and finally got a hold of SYNLawn. And through some conversations and through some turf sampling, he picked our line of turf. So he picked some greens, and he asked us to make changes because he bought in such a volume for his backyard. We could do that. We started making turf for how he wanted it, because he had this expectation of realism about how the ball should behave, rolling, hitting, landing. And so we started down this road with Dave prior to him having any kind of relationship corporately with us about getting his backyard the way he wanted it. And through this process, he really got into the synthetic grass part of our business and came to Dalton and came to understand how we make yarns and how we tuft yarns and how we back yarns and what all that meant as far as performance when you get these yarns and turfs out into the field, how it transpends into how the ball rolls and how it holds. And so he really took it upon himself to help us develop a fairway grass, for example. So we have a fairway grass in his backyard that he developed because he wanted the ball to sit a certain way when on a fairway shot. So it was in these conversations. He said, what, I can really help you more than just be a photo on your brochure. I can really help you with your designs, and he really has. So we did a deal with Dave, and we're really happy because he really engaged with our products, our product line. He helps bring products to market for us with his. He's got some other ideas that we'll be introducing in the next couple of years about practice tools, practice items, and he's a great pitch man for us. But he's more than that. He's part of our R&D team. He really works to make sure our products behave the most realistic of any that our competitors offer, and I'm a believer that they do with his help. I've been out to his backyard.
Well, and I can see that Dave being the type of individual he is, to put it bluntly, very meticulous in his own work, and I could see that being a great asset for your organization to have him on board like that. Not just as you say, a pitch person or a spokesperson, because anybody can get them, and you can get, I'm sure, 100 PGA or LPGA professionals to come out and be a foreperson for your company. But to actually have somebody that understands sort of the ins and outs of that 100 yards in is crucial to your type of business, because to get somebody that specializes in the short game and that understands how the ball reacts, as you said, and that sort of thing, to have them helping you with your not just your physical designs, but the textures and the quality of the product, I could see that being a huge asset for SYNLawn and definitely giving you an even further advantage that you already have over your competition.
Well, here's something fun we can talk about. Here's what Dave has done. So we should all know the circle putt drill that he does with Phil Mickelson. So you put balls around the cup and on a slope and 3 foot away from the cup, and you go around this slope and you hit up hills and down hills and side hills until you are comfortable and you make 10 of these in a row, let's say. So what Dave has done what he's done for us, which is really cool, and our competitors don't offer this, and we sell it in our golf installations. So when a Greensmaster certified, that's our group of highly trained putting green builders, when they show up at a customer's house and they talk about building their practice green in their backyard, we have up to 12 different features we call our elements of practice. So these elements of practice could be a hump, could be a valley, a tier, a slope, a chipping bunker, a sand bunker, a tee box area. So we go over the design of the putting green. We incorporate these elements of practice, and these are Dave's. Dave has developed these types of elements of practice, the valley, for example. And what Dave has done is put drills and games to these elements of practice. So when we talk, Mr. Customer, we're going to have a 20-foot lag putt, because Dave's research has shown that Ted, when we all play golf, and the first shot when we hit the green averages 21 feet away from the hole. That'll be the average in your entire life if you measure it. Dave has. So he says every green needs to be a 20-foot putt. So he's devised games and drills that we have on paper that when we go to and sell and construct this green, we can hand our customer these drills and games that they can actually use, have fun on the green, make it transcend into improving that golfer's score. So these are things our competitors could talk about, building a slope or a tier, but they don't have the element of practice games and drills to back it up that our customers can use to actually physically improve their scores. And it happens time and time again. and Dave preaches, you do the circle drill, you do one time you make all 10 balls, and then you can go in at night, and you don't go in at night until you make all 10 balls. So, but he's got that's just one of 12 of these drills and games that he's devised for us, that makes selling the green easier for us. Our customers get that they're buying a practice green, and they get that. You just turn them over a couple pages of paper, and they say, now I got games I can use, rather than just going out with a bag of shag balls and chipping to it. So that's something unique that Dave has brought to our group that our competitors can't offer.
Well, and as we were just talking about too, having somebody of his caliber that's very highly recognizable in the game of golf to put something like that together says a lot. It's not just your corporate office is saying, okay, well, we're going to put a few things together here for you, and that you're getting it from somebody in the industry that's recognized at a high level of being beyond competent and understanding, as I said, a golf guru, if you will, of the short game. So everybody knows what he's capable of doing. So to get that sort of extra information, if you will, or extra benefit in having the green installed and having the different games and that and practice games, if you will, to do, gives it that much more credibility, because they know it's coming from an expert and not just something that the corporates decided to throw out there as a freebie. It's something that is coming from an expert in the industry, so they know it's going to be sound advice, and that just makes it even a better product. Sound
advice and very well thought out.
Exactly.
Terms. He can get technical. He really can, but he spells out these drills and games in layman's terms, and they're a lot of fun to play. He does them himself, even to this day. He's probably out there right now under the lights doing a circle drill or a lag putt drill right now. I mean, that's just what he does, and so because he does it, and Phil does it, and his students do it. So it gives it helps SYNLawn's credibility, as you suggested.
Well, exactly. Now, let me ask you. Speaking of custom greens and things like that, let's sort of and I know you're going to have to kind of ballpark this because there's too many variables. But let's just say you have a customer that wants to put we'll do kind of a couple of different scenarios, but let's say just a generic sort of a basic putting green in the back with not necessarily a lot of undulations. From the moment that you contract with that person, how long, what sort of a lag time are they looking at before it would be installed from start to finish? Ballpark it.
Yeah, sure. So the quick answer is a couple of days. Now, it really depends on the backlog of that particular dealership or distributorship's workload, right?
Sure.
But generally you visit the backyard. Let's say there is no workload. So you visit the backyard, you do a design. That usually takes a couple of days, and you like to have the homeowner's input on what they're looking for. Do they want fringe? Do they want a bunker? Do they want a little tee area? The size of the project's certainly important. Right. The accessibility to the area. Is it wide open, or do we have to go through a 36-inch gate with a wheelbarrow, as an example? So these are all things we have to look at when we come on site. Determine the size and scope and shape, and we can do that design. Now, as far as the construction phase, let me touch on this a little bit. So just so people know, a lot of people think if you just show up and kind of unroll turf over grass, and that's far from what happens here. We have to engineer a drainage base underneath the turf, much like a paver or a patio paver stone system. Needs to have, depends on the climate, but at least 4 inches of crushed stone underneath the putting green to drain properly. So we talk about these engineered stone bases that we put underneath our turf, and then we can shape these things with undulations and humps and contours. But we have to make sure that the water has a place to go. So, the drainage aspect of these synthetic grass installations is pretty important. So we spend a lot of time and effort in excavating what's there, the sod and soils, bring in this crushed stone, shape it, tighten it up, bring in the turf, position the turf, seam it together, and then top dress it with some top dressing material, and then essentially the customer is ready to go. So depends on the size of the green. The whole installation could be 3 to 5 days generally. In the whole, start to finish design through customer putting could be as much as a week, depending on, of course, size and scope of the project.
Sure. Now, let's say, as an example, somebody comes in, they've got the money that they want to invest, and I mean, we don't need to get into specifics, but they're just really unsure of what they want. Do you have some sort of standard designs that you have, like, so as an example, do you have sort of a book of popular designs that they can kind of select from if they're unsure, if they don't have the technical expertise to sort of decide what they want? Do you have something that they can sort of pick through, almost like a catalog, or obviously you have a showroom of some sort, which, okay.
Yeah, some of our dealers, distributors do have showrooms. Not all of them, but we do, to answer your question, we do have, some basic designs, kidney shapes, all kinds of T-bone shapes, all kinds of designs.
Right.
And that's important for a couple of reasons. First, to get the customer thinking about the shape that he wants, but also to identify that, for example, the turf comes in 15, it's like carpet, it comes in 15-foot wide rolls by whatever length. And so when we talk about a particular size or square footage footprint, we have to show them that to use the most turf efficiently, it has to be laid out in this type of fashion. With, is that making sense? So we have these layouts to show maximum use of turf and within the kind of the shape and size that they're after. So I think it's important that we have those designs, and we do have the book of shapes and different designs that we offer customers.
So you can obviously satisfy the sort of novice consumer, if you will, or buyer, right up to the more advanced. So let's move on to the more advanced. Let's say you have somebody, and obviously Dave would be at that caliber, but let's say you have somebody that comes in and says, okay, I want that TPC experience sawgrass. I want number 17 green. Do you already have that information in your catalog, if you will, or in your facility that you could just, you don't need to get into specifics as long as his backyard or area that he wants to put it is going to accept that particular product, you can just go ahead and do it, or what do you need to do in order to get that?
It's rare that we get what done, and I don't know the specifics of copyrighting those greens. Sawgrass owns that design. I'm not sure if I even know what I'm talking about. So to answer your question, we'd not necessarily have to build exactly the way the greens are laid out at TPC or at Augusta. There might be some copyright there, but we can come awfully close, let's say that, to what they want as far as shape and contour. Just by, we have ways of researching contour, the pits and humps and valleys and things. We can find that out. We get a lot of instances where they want to mimic a green at their country club that gives them trouble over the years. So we can go and walk and map that green at their country club and produce something very similar to that in their backyard. We get more call for that really than we do mimicking holes on the PGA Tour. But we have ability, we have tools and techniques to be able to deliver what that guy wants or gal, pretty accurately to what their experience or what they want from their country club whip green, as an example.
Wow. Now, also, let's say, for instance, that you have, somebody who, I'm trying to think of what a good scenario would be. Let's say, as an example, that somebody wants to have multiple greens, but maybe it's just not going to fit. How do you go head out to the property and sort of assess that first, and then sort of work backwards, or how does? Okay.
Site visits are
so
very
you
important. We must visually walk and inspect the property, and then once we get a layout or feel for the design of the property, and we look for things like, again, drainage, where the water's going, tree lines. We look for roads, for example, that you don't want to be hitting over the green onto a busy road. So it's important that our dealers and distributors go out and walk the property. We also like to say that we match with our designs, match the landscaping that's there. So we want it to look like it blends in, like it's a natural golf,
sure,
like you're playing a natural course. So part of the design is the site visit. Very, very important. And once we're there, we can get an idea of a couple things: budget, needs. Do you need 140 and 130 yard shot, or would you rather have 120 and 150 yard shot? So those are the types of things that we can talk about when we go on site and analyze the property and begin to work on the design with the customer.
And what about maintenance? I mean, obviously, it's a lot less than what you would have, but like as an example, let's say you're in an area and they get a substantial amount of rain. Is there something that they need to do, or do they just sort of let it dry naturally, or can they kind of go out much like they do and sort of squeegee some of that off? I'm not necessarily going to use it right away, but is there something that the consumer or the customer does to sort of help protect the longevity of the product? Is there things that they can do or should do?
Yeah, the quick answer is no. If our design is installed correctly, so remember we talked about the engineering the sub-base system that will move water away from the turf. So if that's designed and installed properly, the water will roll off it and go through it, and it never needs to be covered. These things do not need to be covered. And back to our maintenance question earlier, it's keep it clean. I mean, if it's under a treed area, which some go under, in treed areas, you want to keep those leaves blown off. You want to keep the green pretty. And it might be in an area that it's a particularly heavy fall, let's say. And there are instances when it's okay to cover the green with a tarp if you want to keep those leaves off, if you can't clean them up before winter comes, for example. So tarping is okay. It's not recommended. It's not necessary, but it's okay if in particular instances where let's make sure the green is free from debris all winter long.
Well, the reason why I was wondering is, as an example, if you get into some of your more northern climates, not so much the snow and things like that, but you might get in a situation like you just said where it's under a tree, and the leaves might not necessarily be a problem, but you might have trees that produce sap or something where it would get on there and be very difficult to remove. And in a case like that, if somebody doesn't cover it, what sort of steps or, let's say if there's a section that gets damaged as a result of whether it be sap or something that's excreted from the tree, is it easy to replace or repair sections if need be?
Yeah, so to answer your question, our nylon yarns, we're, because of our, our extrusion capabilities from, 40 years ago up to present, so we concentrate on nylon yarns. So it's the nylon yarn is the most durable yarn in our industry. It goes nylon, there's a polyethylene yarn, and a polypropylene yarn. So we stick to nylon mostly. We have other yarns in our landscape products, but our golf products have used the nylon yarn. And we do so, think about this. Think about, let's say AstroTurf. Let's say the Astrodome. So you have athletes running around on nylon and cleats, and that stuff's durable and long-lasting. So the good news is if that sap or if paint, for example, spills on the nylon, that stuff is really durable and really hard to damage. So we do have things like soap and water. We do have acetones that we recommend to clean up some spills. People are going to spill Dr. Pepper on their green. So we have a list of materials, and I can't think of them off the top of my head, but in our maintenance package of things to use to clean up spills and clean up sap and clean up paint if you spill it in your paint in the garage, for example. Secondly, once that stone base is all in and engineered, that's a big component of these projects. If you can cut out, if a piece of turf is damaged by vandal, let's say, and cut into slices, we can actually cut out turf and put new turf down and seam it in so that it's seamless. So we can repair damages that way, to answer your question. But our turfs are very durable. Yeah,
that's where I would see being a huge benefit, because obviously you're going to have things. I mean, I don't care who you are, where you are. things happen, grandkids come out and they play around and things get damaged, and it's great to, now obviously is there a maintenance, obviously you have a warranty that covers certain natural things and so forth, but in the case where it's, as I said, in the case of a grandkid and stuff like that, do you have a sort of maintenance or a something in the not the warranty, but it's like a service thing where they can pay in a case like that, so they're not having to expel a great deal of money in that particular case? Is there something that you offer to some of the clients if something does?
Have a couple. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ted. Yeah, so we do have our maintenance package when we complete a sale. We turn over the keys, so to speak, and give them a maintenance guideline document. But some of our dealers, distributors offer maintenance packages where once a year, twice a year, depending on climate, they will stop by, spruce up the green, clean it off, check for any damages. That's up to our individual distributor. We recommend that they do that, and most of ours do. So we do have an aftercare program that helps look after the greens once they're installed. And again, it's good business for our dealers and distributors to get in front of their customer, make sure the customer's happy. It helps with referral business. It makes it helps our warranties stay active. So that aftercare is real important. We do offer a program for that.
And I imagine that you get, obviously, referral in any business is always great to have, and I'm sure that you've had many scenarios, probably hundreds that you couldn't get into all of them, but I'm sure you have many scenarios where, a customer will put one in and their neighbor's calling you, a few weeks later wanting one in his or her backyard. So I imagine it's a great thing to have in a referral business. Yours the kind of product I think would. Go ahead.
It's funny, Ted, that you mentioned that. So 20 years ago, I started in the artificial putting green business in the backyard by building my own in my house in Rochester, Michigan. And I only had dies on one green, my own green. I just wanted to build one for myself and my family. And that spawned a 20-year career in this business because I kept getting people to say, well, I want one of those, John, and my doctor wants one of those, and my uncle wants one of those. So I didn't set out to be a putting green installer, and I wasn't going to turn down these jobs, and it turned into a 20-year career. And so, you're right, referral business. And once people see these things, they're very well done. Even 20 years ago, the technology wasn't near as it is today, but they were still pretty good back then. So they're really good now.
And this is something that I really like to see, and your type of product is something that I'm going to talk a little bit about the PGA Show a little bit later on here in a few moments, actually, but after I let you go. But this is one of the things that I really like to see advance in the business, because I think as the industry continues to change, and we all are aware of this, that there, with the latest recession, that a lot of businesses were hurt out there, and particularly in the golf business, a lot of courses and that have had to make changes, and I think it's and also to be more better stewards of the environment. We have to reduce the chemical exposure and things like that out there. So this is really a natural progression, I think, in the golf industry to start moving into more of a synthetic or artificial process. Certainly, again, you're not going to maybe not in my lifetime will you see an entire golf course done this way, but or maybe you will, who knows. But certainly, as we talked about earlier, in the practice facility and maybe the putting green, that sort of thing can certainly be a good step, or a par 3 course if the club has it, is certainly a great step. It can certainly save the club a lot of money, and a lot of them out there, I think, are embracing changes like that. So I can really see your business continuing to expand and grow, and especially with somebody of Dave Pelz caliber, sort of there on the side, putting his input in. I can really see SYNLawn even continue to grow beyond what it has now.
Yeah, Ted, we think so. We think we're poised with excellent manufacturing. We've got great installers out there, a great network of people, all rowing the boat in the same direction towards what you just said, with helping the environment and giving realistic playability to synthetic grasses. So we're in good shape. SYNLawn's in good shape to grow.
Now, were you down at the PGA? Speaking of the PGA Show, were you down at the show yourself this year? Did you make it down, or were you?
Yeah, you bet. SYNLawn had a booth there, 1606. We had a great show. Not only did we build our booth or construct our booth, but we built greens in the Bridgestone booth, 2 greens in the Ping booth, and 3 greens in the TaylorMade booth. Did you go down to TaylorMade and see that display?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
did
that's
you see
why
those
I was
the shuffleboard greens.
Yeah,
those were SYNLawn greens. We built those a couple weeks before the show and then installed them for those groups. So we had a pretty high presence down at this year's PGA Show.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll continue to get a lot of business from that show. It's a great show. There's a lot of there's obviously a lot of things there that I was glad I walked very quickly past. It was, and I'm sure you've seen it yourself, but there are also a lot of great products, and yours is certainly one of them. What's just as we sort of wrap up with you here, John, let me just leave it on this note. What do you see new on the horizon for SYNLawn, and can you share a little bit of insight without giving away too many secrets, what clients may expect from SYNLawn in the future?
Yeah, so we'll continue our quest for realism as far as our turf offerings go, but there's one thing in particular we're excited about. We soft launched it last year, and we're taking more of a focus on it this year. We have so for those customers that have longer par threes, let's say if anything, our turf components by themselves can handle shots from, let's say, 70 yards and in. But when you get that 70, let's say 80, let's say 150 or a 200-yard shot, there is not a criticism of our business is that all artificial grasses is that the balls won't behave on the longest par 3 shots or the longest, par 4 incoming shots, say. So what Pelz has designed for us is called our Shot Stopper system. And like I said, we rolled it out softly last year. Kind of refined the product, and we're really launching it this year. It's a subsystem that goes under our turf, but on top of the stone, proprietary and patented by Pelz, and available to only the SYNLawn group, that will allow that ball you can hit full 4 irons at our greens with the Shot Stopper system underneath, and it'll behave. It'll bounce once and check like it does on a real green. It's unbelievable advancement in our industry, and our competitors aren't even close to even thinking about something like that. And we're set to really pursue that in 2014 and beyond for those customers or those situations needing that long compactability.
Well, and that's why I say that, I mean, it's only going to, as your business continues to develop innovative technology like that, and especially having somebody, as we've talked about with Dave's caliber, because obviously you want to have somebody. It's one thing, as I mentioned earlier, it's one thing to have somebody that understands and plays golf, but somebody that really, and as I'm sure you can attest to, if you've seen any of Dave's articles in any of the magazines, it's unlike any other instructor or expert of the game. It's not just a quick tip and here we go. Dave gets quite intricate in his detail, as you said. And, if anybody's going to be able to pull it off for you guys, it's going to be Dave Pelz. So that's going to be exciting to see when that comes out. And when that gets in a little bit more, John, I want to certainly have you back on here anytime you want to come on the program. But as more and new exciting things happen with SYNLawn, I would love you to come back and share it with my audience.
Sounds great, Ted. I welcome the chance to do that.
Yeah, and I'm going to, as I mentioned to Michelle, but I'll just mention to you very quickly, she has sent me some information over, but I'm going to get some things up on our website, plus a link back to yours, just to give the information to anybody that might be interested in either purchasing or acquiring their own, or maybe a golf course or facility that's looking to make some upgrades. I'm going to have that information available on my website for my viewers and so forth and listeners. To be able to access that and get the information they need. But in the meantime, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, John, it's interested in knowing a little bit more about SYNLawn, what's the website and how can they go about getting more information?
Yep, it's simple, synlawngolf.com, and there's a link for information there that will be routed to me or one of our customer service crew, and we'll be able to answer any and all questions. We welcome any inquiry to the website.
Perfect. Well, John, I want to thank you for coming on Golf Talk Live tonight. It's certainly been very interesting to hear what SYNLawn is doing, and I think it's great. I love when things like this happen in the golf industry, where you're getting some technology that's been around for a long time, but it's changing and it's evolving, and actually opening up new doors for the game. And it's certainly very exciting. So I'm very grateful that you come on and share this with my audience. And as I said, I look forward to having you back in the future. And we'll talk in the weeks to come as well about some other things. But I appreciate you coming on this evening and taking time out of your busy schedule to do that, to share with my listeners.
Yes, thanks for having me on, Ted. We'll talk to you down the road. Appreciate the time.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. And we'll talk to you soon. All right, have a good night. Okay, for those of you that are just tuning in a little bit later here in Golf Talk Live, my special guest this evening was John Knox. He was the Golf Brand Manager of SYNLawn, and we've just been talking this last, just a little over an hour, just a few minutes over an hour. We've been talking about some of the great products in the golf business that SYNLawn brings, and obviously about a great gentleman and ambassador of the game, Mr. Dave Pelz, and his involvement with SYNLawn. If you missed this earlier part of the broadcast, you can pick it up a little bit later on after we go off the air, and you can listen to the recorded version in its entirety at blogtalkradio.com, and just type in the search area Golf Talk Live, or you can just type in the whole URL, which is blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, and you'll be able to listen to its entirety. As mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail because I know many of you were probably, that are listening, were down at the PGA Merchandising Show in Orlando last week, but I just wanted to really bring a couple of things to mention here. One of them, of course, is it's just some of the different products and things that they had. As I said, I'm not going to get into all of it because there was just so much there, and most of it you can get online anyways. Obviously, the usual suspects were there, as John had mentioned here a moment ago. TaylorMade was there. Some of your Ping and some of your major manufacturers were there, and certainly had some interesting products there. But in my mind, there was really nothing there that really sort of stood out any different than any other time. And even though they've all got some great products and that, one of the things that I've been a big proponent of talking about on this show, and have mentioned several times, I love a lot of the new equipment, and I think it's great, and it has a purpose. But I think that sometimes the focus is too much on the driver, and quite often a lot of this technology that's coming out it falls a little short of what's promised. And what I mean by that, for those of you that are tuning in for the first time tonight in Golf Talk Live, a lot of the equipment that we often hear about in commercials and so forth, particularly in the drivers, sometimes will indicate that they're promising an extra 10 or 20 or what have you yards. And really the truth of that is that really happens at a tour level or at a professional level. The average golfer really is not going to reap those benefits unless he or she understands and has a strong grasp of the game and understands basically how to use that equipment. Quite often, somebody will purchase that new driver and get out there, and they're not going to get the same results that maybe a tour pro is going to get. And that's not to say that the product can't deliver, but it's just not that easy. And I saw a lot of that at the show, in some of the practice area. At the range there at the end of at the PGA Show, people were hitting different equipment and things like that, and I would hear, as I said, a lot of the same sort of comments being made that assurances of getting extra distance and things like that, and it is certainly true to a point, but I think sometimes it's made a little unrealistic given the average golfer is not going to reap that benefit. And I just think sometimes that concerns me a little bit in this profession, that some of the manufacturers are making promises that really those of us in the business know is not realistic for the average golfer unless they have the proper technique. But so there was a lot of that there. But what really kind of impressed me, I think, down at the PGA Show is there were certainly a lot of great products. There were a few things that I saw that was a little bit confused about. Wasn't sure why they were there, but I guess that's up to them. But some things that did impress me, and this is really going to work into something very well with the Golf Talk Live brand, as I've mentioned here, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in a few minutes about the new segment that's going to be coming up in April called The Women of Golf, and that's going to be with LPGA professional Cindy Miller and I are going to be hosting that together. There were a lot of great young ladies who had some phenomenal products, particularly in the apparel and even the accessory lines that we're showcasing at the show. And here's something that I noticed walking around. And just to give you an idea, here are some of them that I came across. There was I went past the booth, which was booth number 5058, Birdie and Grace, which is a line of ladies' clothing. And they're certainly very, very stylish, very forward in their designs. And something that I noticed, particularly comparing it to a lot of the men's traditional lines, the men's line, in my opinion, with few exceptions, fell a little bit short to what I saw some of the women that were producing at the golf show. And I just wish that some of the manufacturers would kind of step it up a little bit. I mean, they certainly do have some great designs, but I think that sometimes they sort of brand everybody the same, and not everybody's in the same age group. And I think that sometimes the manufacturers are, of course, leaning towards a more youthful market, and understandably so. That's where the game's going to grow. But there's those of us that are a little bit older that maybe aren't as comfortable wearing some of the stuff that's out there. So it would be kind of nice that if these guys would maybe tailor something that's a little bit more, friendly to the more seasoned golfers out there, without, making them look a little bit too rigid and so forth. So I just wish that some of the manufacturers in the men's lines, some of the traditional ones would be a little bit more forward. And something else too, and she's actually been a guest on the show, Kelsey Abernathy McLean was on just a few weeks ago, earlier this month, and she was over at booth number 4460, and she runs 4Kids Golf. And this is really exceptional quality, custom logo and embroidered clothing and accessories for babies and kids. And this is really becoming big in golf. Kelsey has now been featured in a number of very prominent facilities all across the country, and actually has even gotten into a couple of markets in the Caribbean. But it's just phenomenal, very high quality cotton that they're using in their golf apparel, and it's obviously designed for youngsters. And it's just a very fast and very innovative growing company. And it was just kind of refreshing to see something like that, because I'm a firm believer in starting them young. And I know a lot of you out there that are in the teaching professional are working with a lot of great junior programs. So the sooner that we can get them dressed up as the next Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus, all the better. I'm all for that. So if you're interested in checking out some of Kelsey's products, you can certainly visit 4kidsgolf.com, and that's F-O-R-E kidsgolf.com, and Kelsey will be more than happy to fill your orders. And it's just some great stuff for those of you, especially grandparents. If you're out there and you want to dress up your youngsters, your grandchildren in some great-looking golf apparel and of good quality, you definitely want to check out Kelsey's site, and that's 4kidsgolf.com. So that was another one that I saw at the show that I really liked. And of course, as I said, you had your sort of usual suspects there, and there was some other little knickknacks and things like that, a lot of products. There was one I stopped by, a product called Tin Cup, and basically what it essentially did was it was a small metal cap, if you will, that you would put around your golf ball to help create personalized ball marks by tracing a design with a fine point Sharpie. And that had more than 135 designs that were available. It was kind of interesting. I mean, it's certainly not going to, necessarily help your golf game, but it was kind of interesting to see somebody using a little bit of ingenuity and doing something different. But there was really a lot of different products, a lot of technology I noticed as well down at the PGA Show. A lot of 3D technologies coming out. Another great product which has been around a little bit, but the K-Vest, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with, particularly in the teaching end. A lot of that out there, a lot of GPS type for golf course program and software was available. A lot of different ones. It was too many to really get into them all here, but a lot of technology seems to be really the driving force now in the golf industry, which I'm all for. I think it's great. Some of the stuff that you're able to do. Video was something that came out a few years ago that was very progressive in the golf industry. Now you're taking it a step further, and there was a lot of simulators there at the PGA Show, and I certainly enjoyed watching. It's just amazing the technology that they have now. I mean, it's literally simulated any course around the world, and the quality and the. In fact, there was one of the booths, I don't recall which one now, that had a simulator. And they had a group of them there, and they had simulated the, as we've seen on the big break segments, where to break the glass, they actually had it where they were getting people coming up and trying to break the name on the glass, much like they do on the big Golf Channel's Big Break. And it was very, very realistic and very accurate. Unfortunately, I didn't see anybody break the glass, but nevertheless, it was kind of interesting to see that technology at work. So there's a lot of great technology out there, and obviously, as I said, the clubs are out there. There's a lot of game improvement technology that's out. A lot of great apparel that was down at the show this year. There was some things, I felt that could have used a change. And also, the LPGA is doing a lot for the ladies out there. They've unveiled a new teaching her course to help golf professionals teach the game to women. And the Teaching Her course overview, just to give you an idea of what the program is entailing, the LPGA Teaching Her course consists of 4 one-hour online modules with knowledge checks and interactive video segments. The course fee for the 4 one-hour online instruction modules is $395. LPGA and PGA professionals completing the online course will receive continuing education credits, LPGA CUs and or PGA's MSRs. Each LPGA and or PGA instructor completing the online program and successfully completing the final knowledge assessment will receive the right to use the LPGA Teaching Her approved instructor logo. Of course, the instructors completing the online course will be listed on LPGA.com as an LPGA approved Teaching Her instructor in the LPGA's Find a Teacher database. So it's great to see. Particularly the LPGA is becoming very much more innovative in trying to help a lot of the instructors out there, not just the female instructors, but the male instructors out there to be able to teach this great game to the women. And we're going to be talking a lot about that. In fact, I want to get more information about that on the new segment that's coming out in a couple of months, in 2.5 months, the Women of Golf with Cindy and I. That's something I think I would really like to have on the program. I think a lot of women would, not only in the teaching profession, but a lot of women out there that are maybe taking up golf would like to know that what some of the things that they're working on to help the instructors out there to make it a better experience. And obviously, because of the traditionally male-dominated culture in golf, the majority of teaching methods currently that are in use in the golf industry were developed by male golf professionals based on their experiences teaching male students and or based on models of the swings of the male touring professionals. So there's been a little research that they've been conducting with the golf industry on whether or not these methods are the same ones that really should be used for women, or whether these methods should be adjusted when working with women. So, they're looking for new and innovative ways, and as most people know, any really good instructors out there, and there are many, many, many out there, it is entirely different teaching men than it is women. And that's something that I really want to talk about in the weeks and months to come on Golf Talk Live, is really talking about the difference, because there's really a big segment of the market, obviously women, that I feel have been underlooked, or overlooked rather, in the teaching end of it. And I think that's a whole new market that's going to be opening up and expanding very rapidly. That's one area that golf can grow and really double in its size in a very short time if handled right. And that's something that we want to do here on Golf Talk Live, and with its new segment, the Women of Golf. So Cindy and I will be talking about that in the upcoming months when we get everything organized. But a lot of great products on there. Obviously, I stopped by my good buddy Bernie Pinder of Ontic Golf. He's the founder and president of Ontic Golf, and has a great line of custom putters. We're going to be hearing more about that again in the next little while. He's going to be coming back on the show in the near future and talk a little bit more about that. He's got some great new things that he's got planned for 2014, which I hope to be a part of. So we'll be talking a little bit about that once we get everything finalized there. So a lot of great things at the PGA Show. I certainly did enjoy it overall. There was one thing, and I hesitated whether I was going to mention this or not on the program, but it did bother me a little bit
And I know some people might not understand this approach, but one of the things that bothered me a lot is that there are certain elements in the golf industry that I feel do a disservice to women. And one of the things that I noticed on one of the PGA Merchandising Show's daily publication, they obviously print one for each day of the show, and it was actually on the Thursday show. For any of you guys that are listening in that have a copy of that magazine still in your bag, one of the things that really bothered me is down near the bottom there is a photo of one of the young ladies who we're all familiar with if we watch the Golf Channel, Holly Saunders, and she was doing an interview with Greg Norman, and I'm not familiar with the other gentleman off the top of my head, but and one of the things that disturbed me a little bit, and this is something that I noticed when I was walking around the PGA Show, but the picture that Holly has, it's not a very flattering, in my opinion. I think it's a little bit unprofessional, not necessarily on her part, but on the people that put this magazine together for that particular day. And those of you who have a copy, I'm not going to get into it on air, but it just bothered me a little bit that I feel that some poor judgment was used in posting that picture up on the cover of this magazine. And I just think that was something else that I noticed throughout the PGA Show, and I understand, and not trying to sound like a prude here, but I just think it does not shed a very positive light in the golf industry when photos like that are being shown. And it certainly reflects very badly, and it's certainly, in my opinion, an insult to the many thousands of women professionals out there, and it doesn't say very much for the male professional either, that we're gravitating to photos like that. And as I said, if you have a copy of that, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I would certainly, if I was in her shoes, I'd be very embarrassed to have seen this photo. But anyways, check it out if you have a copy of it, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I just think that some of the outfits that I've noticed down there, and I'm all for people being individual in that, but I just thought that they were a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit over the top and not very professional. And obviously, I think you know where I'm going with this, and I don't want to sound like a prude, but I just think it does not flatter, especially somebody that's in the media like that. It doesn't set a very good image in my mind, and I just think that Holly needs to maybe take a look at that and maybe consider making some changes. I know she's a young, attractive young girl and wants to put her image out there, but at the same time, I think in many ways it's not flattering in the golf industry. I'm wrong. But there were a lot of great things at the show, and for those of you, as I said, that made it down there, I'm sure you got to see a lot of different things. One of the things that I think that I enjoyed the most was really meeting a lot of different people, and I'm going to be having some of those individuals on the show over the next few months. In the process, actually, of contacting them. I gave them a few days to recoup from the show, and I know a lot of them were walking around and standing at their booths and dealing with a lot of people. But I gathered up quite a few contacts while I was there, and I'm going to have some great guests on the show as a result. And I think that some of the guests that are going to come on, I think you're going to enjoy them. So certainly stay tuned with that, and I'll keep you posted as time goes on. And just to sort of wrap out the show, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going to be coming up in the next little while. As I've mentioned now for the last several shows, beginning on March 6th of this year, a brand new segment on Golf Talk Live called Coach's Corner. That'll be starting each show, each of the Thursday night shows, and you guys out there will have an opportunity to call and or email your questions to the program and to be able to literally pick the brains of some of the best coaches and teaching pros in the business. Each week I'll have a different panel, and we'll cover a new topic each week. I'm going to, basically what the format's going to be, everybody, is I'm going to have a specific generic topic that is going to be the general theme of the program, and then we'll also allow for some questions for really whatever you want to talk about. But I want to start and have some discussion with the panel and just give you guys some insight on different topics each week. But for you weekend warriors out there that are looking to improve your game, you want to make sure that you call into the program during the live broadcast, which is every Thursday from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. The Coach's Corner segment is going to run from 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, or that's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right through to 7 Central or 8 Eastern Time. That'll be the first hour of our Thursday night broadcast will be the Coach's Corner segment. So that's going to be your opportunity to call in live Otherwise, once it goes on, it'll be a recorded version. You won't be able to call in. But if you're not able to tune into the live broadcast, don't worry, I've got you covered as well. Another option is you can submit questions, and I'm going to be posting this email address up on my various social media sites, and it's questions.golftalklive@gmail.com. So I want you to make a note, write that down. It's questions.golftalklive@gmail.com. And what I want for all of you to do is to jot down maybe a question or two that you'd like, or maybe a topic that you want us to cover on the Coach's Corner, and submit that in. Actually, you can start submitting that anytime, because I'm going to gather them up. Make sure that you include on that email who you are and where you're contacting us from. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that I'm going to read those out live on the air. So certainly you want to get some credit. And maybe if you want to also include how we can get in touch with you, an address or number, and we may have some prizes and gifts along the way that we maybe give, or some giveaways that we may have. So if you want to include on that as well, make sure that you include that contact information in there. And I can assure you that the information will not be read out over the air, but we'll certainly read your name and where you're contacting us from, as far as your state or country, what have you. But any other confidential information we'll keep private. But so if you want to do that, if you're not able to call during the live broadcast, we certainly want some live callers, of course, to make it interesting, maybe stump the pen a little bit. But also, for those of you that are tuning in later on, if you submit ahead of time your questions, we'll be able to read those out. So submit them to questions.golftalklive@gmail.com beforehand for me to read out live on the air. Also coming up, as I was mentioning there a few moments ago, definitely don't want to leave the ladies out there. Beginning in April, I'll be joined by none other than LPGA professional Cindy Miller. Cindy and I will be hosting a brand new Golf Talk Live program. It'll be on a separate day and a separate time, called the Women of Golf, and that'll be beginning in April of this year. The date and time will follow. I don't have that exactly put in place quite yet, but we'll have that soon for you. Hopefully, as I said this last week, but hopefully it'll be by next show. So now we're going to coordinate that and get that online. But that'll be a whole different name, and it's going to be the Women of Golf. It's a Golf Talk Live program, but it'll be entitled Women of Golf. So for you ladies out there, or for you husbands out there that maybe want to encourage your wife to get involved in the game, or maybe she is in the game and wants some great advice, some great tips from some top LPGA professional, not only players, but also some teaching professionals, and also some ladies in the golf industry that are going to be coming on the program and talking about some of the different things that they're doing to make it a better experience, everything from travel to accessories to golf apparel. We've got everything covered just for what the women want in the Women of Golf. So make sure that you tune in to listen to some of the important topics that we're going to be facing, that are facing in the women's in the golf industry today. Everything, as I said, from equipment, coaching, health, and accessibility, or rather lack of accessibility still in the golf industry. We're going to be talking with everybody from some of the best players on the LPGA Tour, as well as the women in the teaching end of it, and also some women from corporate golf. Plus a lot, much more. So make sure you stay tuned for updates on the Women of Golf. I want to, as always, take this opportunity, something that I decided that I wanted to make sure I did every show starting in 2014. I did do it sometimes through last year, but I wanted to make a special point of doing it this year, starting in January, and doing this every program. But I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you for all of my listeners worldwide for faithfully tuning into Golf Talk Live each week. I've had certainly the pleasure and enjoyment of having a number of highly talented teaching professionals and coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs stop by Golf Talk Live, and through their participation and guest appearances, they have helped to make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I want to thank especially my guests for coming on the program. And I want to give also a special thank you to many of the people who support and sponsor the program. Some of my sponsors, Mr. Jonathan Laird of South Coast Golf Guide, great golf publication here in the Southeast. And if you want to get in touch with Jonathan, you can reach him at jonathan@southcoastgolfguide.com if you're interested in getting a copy. You can go on southcoastgolfguide.com, and you can either request one through the site, or you can actually, I believe it's in PDF form as well. You can download it right from southcoastgolfguides.com website. Or if you're interested in advertising in Jonathan's publication, it's been around for 20 years now, and I believe it's 21st year. in 2014, and it's a great publication. It's got some great golf resorts all through the southeastern United States that are listed in the publication. So if you're planning on taking a trip down here in the southern part of U.S. and you're looking for some great courses to play, you need to get yourself a copy of South Coast Golf Guide. You can contact Jonathan at southcoastgolfguide.com. Another young lady who was a guest on the show and who was also running her own business and was crowned Mrs. South Carolina 2014 late last year, Mrs. Meredith Kirk, and she's Mrs. South Carolina 2014, and she also runs Meredith Kirk Golf, and also has a publication that she's involved with, Endless Golf, a Myrtle Beach magazine. You want to check that out at endlessgolf.com, and you can check out, in fact, I think it's endlessgolfmag.com, if I'm not mistaken. But you can certainly check out Meredith Kirk online. She's all over Facebook as well. You can check her out, and that's Meredith Kirk. I want to thank her for all of her support of the program. Also, some great Facebook friends who continue to help spread the word about the show. Mr. Nicky, and of course Tiffany Litherland from Down Under in Australia, who continue to support this business of mine, Golf Talk Live, who support the program and always have some great things to say about that. Thanks, guys, for all your continued support. And, of course, as I mentioned a little earlier in the broadcast, Mr. Bernie Pinder, the founder and president of Ontic Golf, great line of custom designed and built putters, one of which I'm the proud owner of, and I got to see him down at the golf show and spent some time with him. And we're going to be talking about some great things that Ontic Golf is going to be doing in 2014 and beyond. And also Mr. Barry Goldstein, who I also had the pleasure of seeing face-to-face down at the PGA Merchandising Show. Great to have Barry also on the Ontic team, but just a great instructor, a great teacher, and a great father of a young lady, Carly Ray Goldstein, who was on the program, and she's now, she's out there just knocking the iron stiff for the LSU Tigers. She's been there. This is her first year as an LSU student, and getting great grades and just playing that game that she loves so much. So we're going to have them back on as well. Barry and Carly Ray are going to be coming back on the show hopefully sometime early this spring. Just to get an update of what's been going on with Carly at LSU, and also just to get an update on what's happening in Barry's life these days. Barry's out there teaching hard and expanding this great game. So we're going to talk to those two in the next couple of months. And, of course, a gentleman I didn't get a chance to see at the PGA Show, but he stopped by Bernie's booth as well, Mr. Peter Doyle of Doyle Golf Solutions. Over in Ireland, he was at the show, and unfortunately he left before I made it down. Didn't get a chance to see him, but he's a big supporter of the program as well, and obviously has helped spreading the word over in Europe about Golf Talk Live. And also another gentleman, Dr. Greg Ortman, who is also with the Ontic Golf Group, also got a chance to spend some time with him down at the golf show as well. And these guys Greg actually was on the program as well, talking about his book, Golfology, and got a chance to read that and thank him again for that at the show. And it's a great book, so get yourself a copy of that, Golfology by Dr. Greg Ortman. And he's going to be coming out with a new book. I don't have the title as of yet, but he's working on a new book, and I'm going to have him back on the show when that is ready to be launched. But I want to thank all of the people that have sponsored and support the program. And we've got some new advertisers coming up in the next little while as well that want to come on the show as well. So I appreciate all of their support. So thanks again to my special guest tonight, Mr. John Knox, Golf Brand Manager of SYNLawn. Thanks for stopping by Golf Talk Live. Everybody have a great weekend, and I will see you back here next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time here on Golf Talk Live. God bless, and thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.